welcome back to the Coliseum of Fantasy Knowledge. This is the IDP Fantasy Empire. Week 6, getting a little bit closer to that midway point of the season, the make or break time. We had some pretty decent games this week, I thought. Sunday night was a good burner. Monday nights was a pretty good burner. I like them close games. We had a couple games that weren't as close. But overall, I thought it was good. We had some weather games, some non-weather games, so starting to get a little colder.
Yeah, I was really surprised with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Dallas Cowboys game, honestly.
I think it's the uniforms. Do you got to blame the unis at this point?
No.
But speaking of the Jaguars, before we get into our games, I was reading a rumor that because, as you know, I've been on Eric Flowers since last offseason about how shitty he's been at offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. Well, the Giants cut him, and then the Jaguars pick him up. Because, again, Tom Coughlin runs the Jags. Mm. My thought was, and I read an interesting article about it, was maybe they trade for Eli.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
They trade Bortles for Eli.
No, don't trade Bortles. They probably keep Bortles. But they trade Eli for now. Do you think that would be an upgrade?
Imagine if they did trade Bortles and the Giants go off.
Right?
Like, that would be nuts, man.
And, Tom Coughlin's always had a really good relationship with the Giants. Always will.
Yeah.
But it was just something that was floated out there, because honestly, I think Manning's maybe got another couple years. I don't think there's going to be a renaissance or like some forthcoming of some epic thing from him.
Yeah.
He's getting like Tom Brady. He throws a deep ball very rarely.
Right.
When Odell has the longest touchdown pass of the season, you got some problems. But I just thought that was interesting. I thought it was a pretty cool article. I like reading outlandish stuff. It's like reading about if the Raiders are going to trade Amari Cooper and Carl Joseph away. That's been rumored all week this week.
You know how he used to be the guy that would tell you, this is bullshit. But whenever you trade away Mac, I don't know, man. I really don't.
Well, and the one that's come up lately is the Eagles, because you know where they need help at? Wide receiver and safety.
Do you take them both?
I mean, I wouldn't mind getting Amari Cooper if I'm Green Bay.
I honestly want to see the Raiders become the new Browns.
So they're going to be good in a couple of years, what you're saying?
20.
I love stuff like that. That's what the NFL is all about. And Buck sent me a funny thing. The fans have already started a countdown clock of how many days John Gruden's been on the team and been coaching.
Dude, I'm telling you, I jumped off right at the right time.
You're still on the
No,
bandwagon.
I am not a Raiders fan.
Stop.
I am not.
Please. You love them. You're black and silver all the way through and through.
And it's silver and black, and no, I'm not.
See, he had to correct me. I set him up, and he corrected me. All right, getting into this week. Did you want to go first? You want
we
to
have
hit the
3 news items. Yeah. Sua Cravens is expected to come back to practice this week. Your thoughts, Paul?
I'm excited. I love this kid. I never given up hope, man. I will be the last person on that bandwagon.
Yep. And you will die on that hill.
I will die on that hill. Proudly.
Nick Vigil is expected to miss a month. Your boy with an MCL injury.
I've lost Deion Jones and Nick Vigil. I don't know what else to do. And I lost the next guy, or guy I'll talk about during my game, so I've really lost all my productive members of my defense.
At this point, with a bad team and a lot of injuries, are you going to tank? And do you suggest doing that in a dynasty?
I mean, on dynasty, it really depends. If you got to know the crop that's coming up, though. You got to know your holes. Like this year, I knew my holes were going to be wide receiver, safety, and cornerbacks, and that's pretty much what I drafted. I probably should have taken some linebackers here and there besides Dorian O'Daniel, but you take risks. But I think I got a really good wide receiver crop that may pay me back dividends. So part of tanking goes into what you think you can get future value, because you may not necessarily take a guy you need. Like there could be a good chance I would take a wide receiver if I had a high pick, and then just trade off some other guys for more picks.
Yeah,
I think you make more money in the 3rd and 4th rounds.
So what do you think the strengths are of this draft class? I know you pay a lot more attention than I do.
There's some really good linebacker prospects, but for me personally, I've been watching more of the quarterback route to see who's going to take what, because I think the Giants are going to have to get a new quarterback by the end of the season. I really think fantasy-wise that's going to help out. But the kid from Memphis, the linebacker, and I'm blanking on his name right now because you're looking at me.
That's fine.
But Memphis is a team, honestly, if you have a chance, watch some of their games. They have been very underrated, but they have a really decent squad. And LSU is going to produce another good defensive crop if they come out this year. They have 2 juniors who could honestly go right in the NFL starters. Right. One at safety, one at linebacker. And I think Walker is one of the linebackers.
All right.
Got some good squads, man.
We've got Wesley Woodyard, who is expected to be back next week. Actually, one of the guys in our league, I commissioned one of the leagues that we're in. He hit me up. He was like, "Hey, is Woodyard coming back?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm in the gym right now, but I would check Twitter." And he was like, "I don't know, man." I was like, "Hey, that's the best thing to do, honestly. If you're looking for a player last minute, just type in their name to Twitter, and you can search by most recent or top stories, and most of the time the most recent you're going to find Wesley Woodyard ruled out week 6 or what have you, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a tool I like using whenever I'm in a bind and I can't find it from Ian Rappaport or any of the other big guys.
A tool that I like to use, and I don't talk about it a lot because I think it's my own advantage, because SleeperBot is always ahead of ESPN and NFL getting me information. So that's one that you can follow your favorite players on that.
And how would somebody go ahead and subscribe to SleeperBot?
It's just a regular downloadable app. It's very easy. They actually are growing in their IDP section. Me personally, I've been on there throwing out stuff, so you actually would see some advice from me every once in a while.
All right. Since you have 7 games this week, Paul, I'll let you go ahead and start first.
All right. I will start with the most boring game first. I don't know if that really brings down the show, but I'm going to try it. My most boring one of the week was the Ravens at the Titans. My God. On the fast version, this game was 29 minutes. Basically, the Ravens are running the clock like Kansas State. They basically run the play clock down to 5 seconds, and then they snap it. So this game went really quick. For the Titans, starting with the home team, you had Jackson, who went 8 for 8. Casey went 7 for 5, and that's total solos. And then you had Evans, the rookie from Alabama, going 7-5, 1 tackle for loss. Evans was covering really well in the flats all game. I thought he was really covering well. He's a bigger body dude, kind of like a Dante Hightower. So seeing him actually move out to the flats was really nice to see. Byron came cutting in for a stop. Butler gets beat on a back shoulder throw. Butler played up and down. He had good stick coverage. He had some bad reads. So he went up and down for me. Jackson loses a one-on-one catch, just gets outplayed by the wide receiver. Collins read the hole and attacks for a touchdown. Basically, the Titans just couldn't cut off the second avenues. And Collins is getting really good at reading it. It reminded me of how he ran at Arkansas. That's how he reminded me running back-wise. Byard gets a tip pick. Casey had a cool truck and roll and almost had a sack. He basically got knocked down by the offensive lineman. He rolled, literally did a somersault roll, got up and almost got the sack. I love that. That was an awesome play.
Nice.
Then you had gang tackling throughout this game. That's why it wasn't really a flashy game. There wasn't a lot of standout plays individually. It was just gang tackling because, honestly, the Ravens were just pounding the rock. Once they got the 14-0 lead, they just pounded it out for 21-0 lead. Again, really boring game to watch, but it went by very fast. For me, Evans is looking like a guy more and more like a good starting option. We'll see with Woodyard coming back how that plays in, but he could be a pick that could be a really good down the road because the Titans aren't going to make the playoffs, so it's a matter of time before they give the rookies the shot, and the rookies are going to eat up some tackles. Their next game is going to be at the Chargers. I expect a lot of work in there for them because Gordon is honestly probably going to get the ball a lot next week. For the Ravens, I'm sorry, guys. I don't have a lot of stats for the Ravens. You're going to hear me say sack a lot, though, so we'll get right into it. You had Zadarius Smith, a guy who I really, really like watching. He went 5 for 4, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. You had Onosor go 4 for 3, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and Mosley went 4 for 3. The Ravens set a franchise record, 11 sacks in this game. I'll kid you not, Buck. When I saw that, I went through 3 different websites to make sure that was correct because I did not believe the stats that I saw before I watched the game. Yeah, it was that one. Sugg misses a sack and Worley cleans it up. Worley, sorry, I always mess up his name. Smith gets a sack 2 plays later. Mosley dives in and gets a tackle for loss on the running back. Onosor gets a sack. Smith gets a sack and a forced fumble, and Mariota luckily falls on it. Suggs gets a sack, with it being Halloween time. The Halloween mask gets one. Only 44 tackles total in this game for the Ravens, and 5 of them were by special teams tackles. So not a lot to go on. Not a lot to really make a good outline with. Honestly, for me, I could not be a Titans fan after They were running the ball when they were down 21-0. Made no sense. And I understand it was rainy and it was wet and sloppy, but come on, man, you're killing me. And honestly, I even put in here, and I'm sorry I'm going to cuss once, but the O-line looks like shit without Taylor Lewan. They are bad. I hadn't watched the Titans that much, but God, they're bad. No wonder Mariota has like 2 fantasy points every week. He has no one to throw to, and he can't get out the pocket fast enough. It's like if you put Russell Wilson back there, it'd look exactly like Seattle's offensive line. That's how bad they are right now. God, it was bad. Next week, I really look for Jimmy Smith to really make or break to see if he's going to be fantasy relevant for me, because they're going to be playing at home versus the Saints, and the Saints like to throw the ball. Pitting on the weather, I think this one might be a wet one, so it may get a little more ground and pound, but the Saints are also coming off a bye week, so they've had time to prep, and I guarantee you they were watching this boring game, seeing them get 11 sacks as well. You ready? Want me to go another?
All right. I am up.
All right.
Real quick, I want to talk about the guys going on buys next week. It's going to be the Green Bay Packers, the Oakland Raiders, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Seattle Seahawks.
What are we going to do? None of our favorite teams play.
I don't have a favorite team out of all these.
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah, it's Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was setting you up for that one.
All right, so I've got the Chargers versus the Browns. For the Chargers, Jaleel Adai goes 7 of 9. Perryman goes 2 of 8. Oddly enough, he gets a lot of assists in this game. Jenkins goes 3 of 6, pardon me, and gets a half sack. Legitt gets 1.5 sacks. Square gets 1.5 sacks. Rochelle gets a sack, and James gets half a sack. King ends up getting 2 interceptions in this game, and it looked like the Chargers were disguising a lot of their blitzes, especially whenever they realized that Baker Mayfield was hurt, and it looked like he was flustered at one point. The very next play, he goes ahead and he rushes for 1 yard after he looked like he was coming out for the rest of the day. Tyrod Taylor was actually warming up too.
Ooh.
Jatavis Brown looked like he was struggling to get off blocks. Again, this has been a problem for him. I know that we mentioned earlier a couple weeks ago that I would pick up Jatavis Brown over Perryman. Not looking like the case. I love Perryman's talent. Jatavis Brown is producing and has been producing, but Perryman can't stay healthy. Keeping that in mind, if Denzel Perryman does go down, which he often does, Jatavis Brown is going to be the pickup.
I feel like your take on Perryman is the same thing I feel for Jordan Hicks. Like, I never expect him to be healthy.
Right. That being said, Denzel Perryman looked good. He was knifing in. He was making tackles. And I like seeing this from him because, again, he's often injured. You don't always see those guys come back ready to go. Corey Liuget, I thought he looked good too. He was shredding blocks. He looks really tough to get a hold of out there, and we're seeing it week after week. Him just stepping back up to the plate.
Yeah, and he's been well rested due to the fact he was suspended. So yeah, he's coming
on
in with
PEDs,
for them fresh legs. Probably getting it from Brian Cushing.
One more rep, man. Adrian Phillips looked scared to tackle, but Derwin James was willing to finish that tackle. Don't like seeing that, especially from a D-back. Trevor Williams got picked on quite a few times with deep gainers. Derwin James ended up forcing a pick. Later on, he almost gets the ball as it hangs in the air off a tip. Rashawn Jenkins. I don't really know much about this guy. You got anything on him?
I think he's honestly played really well in man coverage. He does not as good in zone coverage, but honestly, with the Chargers, I've watched them 4 times now. They switch off and on from zone to man all the time.
Right. And that's actually what I had in my notes for him. It's kind of crazy. He's really good in man coverage. Perryman looks like he's a lot better this game. I was really impressed with him I was not impressed with him the first week of the season. And I've seen him progress as time has gone by. So I'm kind of regretting telling y'all to go pick up Jatavis Brown over Denzel Perryman. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice how I'm talking about this, but Perryman's my dude. He always has been. I know I went to bat for him on Twitter with a lot of other quote-unquote experts, but I always like this dude. I just worry a lot about him, you know? He's like that girl that you used to date, you know? You're no longer with her, but you're like, is she doing all right, you know? Send her a box of chocolates or something. Jaleel Adai ends up making a touchdown-saving tackle back-to-back at the end of the game. Kyle Emanuel is constantly getting burnt this game. They need to get him out of there. Next week, the Chargers are versus the Titans. If you're playing against the Titans, who are you going to pick up? For me, I'm probably going to go pick up Denzel Perryman, I think Adai is already owned.
I think Corey Liuget can eat because that offensive line is terrible.
That's true.
Terrible.
Maybe get 11 sacks all to himself.
he may just do that. Or Bain. Ebane's been pretty good as well.
All right. For the Browns, we've got Randall going 8 for 8.
Yeah.
By 8 for 8, real quick, 8 individual tackles, and then 8 solo, 8 total. The last one is the total. So for Collins, he goes 5 for 6. Ogunjobi goes 3 for 4 with half sack. Peppers goes 3 for 4. Schobert ends up getting a half sack as well. This guy is super impressive, man. Have you had a lot of chances to watch the Browns this season?
I think I've watched them twice so far. I believe both of them are the overtime games too.
Word. Christian Kirksey also gets an interception. To start out the game, the defensive line is looking like they're trying to single arm tackle. This is not a good thing, especially whenever your linebackers are not finishing the plays. Kirksey actually looks sluggish this game. He ends up dropping a pick 6 as soon as the game starts. Later on, he ends up getting an interception in the fourth quarter to, I wouldn't say save the Browns, but he gives them another chance to get back in the game. Gaines could have had a fumble recovery, but the ball was knocked out of bounds. Schobert is assigned to cover Tyrell Williams. Again, Schobert is a good football player, but he is not the speed athlete that Tyrell Williams is. I put no thanks in the notes. He scores on 2 passes for 60-plus yards in one drive. Schobert was later seen taking great angles. Again, getting back to the running lanes. You can tell he started targeting the right tackle of the, I almost said San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. And I love that. I love whenever they notice that a guy is missing on a play, they just go ahead and go after him. And they started getting a little bit more success. Collins got blocked by Rivers on an end around. Nice. Jamie Collins, a stud, playing that strong side linebacking role. You don't expect the strong side linebacker to get blown up by the quarterback.
Phillip Rivers got that rage inside.
Right. Bringing out the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We got TJ Carey, who's playing off and getting ran towards the entire game. Because he's playing off as they run the plays his way, it's forcing him to pick a direction if he wants to go left or if he wants to go right, and the running back just picks the opposite.
Nice.
So TJ Carey, an Oakland Raider at one point in his life, ends up going to the Browns, hoping to become better, because John Gruden didn't want him. Continually picking the wrong side, and he did end up dialing up a good blitz later on. Next week they're at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to pick up Jamie Collins if he hasn't been picked up. He should be owned in every single league by now. I see him as a top 25 linebacker going forward.
And watch for Burgess as well, because I know Schobert tweaked his hamstring. So he may be week to week.
I am not picking up Burgess at
all. But Burgess has his own hamstring issues too. So watch that linebacking core because it may be a little close.
Are you going to start Burgess with confidence?
Schobert's out. I got to start someone if I don't have Collins, right?
What about? Yeah, I guess.
Who else did they got on the roster at this point?
I don't know. I've been really impressed with Randall, man. We continually see him at the top of the stat sheets week after week.
That's because they throw at him because he sucks.
He's been playing that deep safety role, though.
Yeah, he really has. He has been playing really good at deep safety. He had a couple good pass breakups, too.
We see that a lot with the...
That touchdown, though, to Williams, with all 3 Browns defenders going after that ball.
Was nuts.
Ooh, that was nasty. I was watching that one live. God, I loved it. All right, we ready for mine?
Yep. Hopefully you got the... Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. So, if you're going to attack the Buccaneers, how are you going to attack them? we were talking about a defensive IDP player for the Browns because they play the Buccaneers next week.
Who am I taking for the Browns?
Yep.
Probably Peppers.
Peppers?
If I can get
Okay.
him. Like, again, I think Peppers is around in a lot of leagues because some people, I've seen more movement of him being dropped just because he's been up and down. But I like Peppers because Jameis Winston's back and he was throwing.
Yeah.
So, and
I saw he had a monster week.
he did. I was so glad I started him. I
I
finally
know.
picked a good one, and I still lost.
He's one of those games. This is one of those games that I'm going to go back and watch. You know, I
It's good.
like to watch all of them, but like I'm really excited to watch this one.
It was good. I really enjoyed this game. Again, we had the Bucks at the Falcons. For the Falcons, Olakun, the rookie from Yale, goes 9 for 7. Poole goes 6 for 5, 2 PDs, 1 INT. PD is pass defense. Casey goes 5 for 4, 1 pass defense, 1 interception. For the Falcons, Trufant was getting targeted early on in this game, just really getting picked at. Campbell gets outplayed by Brait on a back shoulder throw. Overthrow by Winston gives Casey an easy pick. Campbell later on gets beat by Howard for a touchdown. Basically, Campbell was trying to do his best Anthony Barr impersonation in this game. He was just getting beat by all the tight ends.
Did he
Deflection.
get hurt halfway through the game?
Right? Pretty much, should have. Deflection interception by Poole in the end zone. I love saying deflection interception, man. Just love it. Crazy play. This ball goes off Brait's hands on the throw. Amos almost picks it, and then Godwin grabs it and makes the catch for like a positive 15 yards. I loved it. Like, it was one of those I watched it 3 times just because it was such a good catch. It was such a crazy catch. The Falcons secondary is really looking like the Achilles heel of this team. And Jameis Winston right now, throughout this game, was looking like Paris, a.k.a. Alexander. He was just shooting arrows into that Achilles heel. Like, he was just threading the needle, just popping them. And it was crazy. Like, I didn't think Winston was going to look this good, but the Falcons secondary is really killing them. I think they really missed the presence of Neal and Jones. They really missed Neal and then Deion Jones. And those guys are very, very hardly missed and sorely missed right now. They need them back. Too bad they can't have a faster surgery. I would keep an eye on Olakun. He may be a cheap pickup for a lot of leagues if you got the bench depth. I don't know if he'll have that production again, but it's against the Giants, and their offensive line is also terrible. And they're going to be playing at home again. So this could be a good pickup for them. I felt like even though Olakun had the most tackles, I feel like I didn't really hear his name or see him that much. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just one of those, sometimes the guys still up on the chat seats and you're like, where the hell were they? For the Bucks, Alexander went 11 for 10, 2 tackles for loss. David went 6 for 6, 1 tackle for loss. And Smith went 6 for 6, 1 forced fumble. Ryan Smith gets played by Jones on a quick out. Stewart gets beat on a long crosser to Sanu for a touchdown. And then he was later beat by Sanu on another pass. MJ Stewart sucks, and I don't like him. Alexander second-guesses himself and leaves Hooper to get in for a touchdown on an end-around. Evans stops a run in the backfield. We see him do really well on blitzes. I've seen it 4 or 5 times now where he's gotten to the quarterback. Quan gets a diving stop for a tackle for loss. Coverage sack by JPP. This is a 4th game in a row that he's had a sack. So the one-handed man is playing amazingly. Davis gets a tackle for loss and a great one-on-one tackle in a row, and that's really when it counted in the 4th quarter, when the Bucks really need to get the ball back to try to get this win. For me next week, I'm still on the Smith bandwagon. They're going to be playing at home versus the Browns, so I really think that he could still get a lot of work. I think Baker's going to try to get Jarvis Landry more involved, who was really a non-factor this last week in the Browns game, so I look forward to that one.
All right, am I up?
Yep.
All right, I got the Seahawks versus the Raiders.
In London.
This is a terrible game.
There's another London game next week, correct? And I think after that it's Mexico City for the Chiefs and Rams.
Chiefs and the Rams. That's going to be a delicious game.
It's not going to matter, though, because the Rams are already going to have a loss on their record.
No, they're not.
Because they're playing Green Bay in 2 weeks, and we're going to take them down. Calling it now.
Easy, Paul. Y'all could barely beat the 49ers.
Got to rep my squad.
All right, for the Seahawks, Mingo leads the team 7-7. Jay Coleman goes 6-6. Jayon Reed goes 5-5 with a sack. McDougal goes 4-4. Clark gets 2.5 sacks. Steven gets 1 sack. Jackson gets 1 sack, and Jefferson gets a half sack. The Seattle Seahawks getting no interceptions, surprisingly. Jaron Reed is getting a lot of penetration in this game. He ends up ripping Marshawn Lynch to the ground. Brandon Jackson is flowing to the ball well from the backside of the play. The Raiders won't block him on one side, and he'll swing around and end up making a tackle on the other side. Frank Clark got a forced fumble, and Jerron Reed recovers it. Bradley McDougald had a huge hit on Lynch, and in any other game, he would have been ejected. Later on, he ends up getting a forced fumble, and he's playing aggressive throughout the game. I like seeing this from McDougald. That being said, that forced fumble, that may not have happened because he would have been pulled from the game in another instance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Martin ends up forcing a fumble, and Frank Clark recovers it. Justin Coleman is playing downhill most of the game. So, Coleman, the guy that we talked about coming into the week, last week as a waiver wire target, he is probably going to be playing for the rest of the season in Earl Thomas's stead, you know? Are you making a move for this guy, especially with him finishing number 2 and the spotty linebacking play? I continue to see him making tackles.
I mean, I can see the good argument for it. They need the help and productivity.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and go with him for our guy to pick up. That being said, they are on a bye week, so keep that in the back of your mind for the next week. And when we list him, I'm going to put him a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Not because of not of interest, it's just the nod of you have to wait a week.
Yep. So look at him on a discount, you know.
Double check. Got you with that one.
For the Raiders, Tahir Whitehead ends up going 4 of 6. Worley goes 5 of 5 with 2 pass breakups and an interception. Brown goes 5 of 5, and Leon Hall goes 5 of 5. And if you haven't noticed, most of these tackles are solos as well.
Yeah.
So,
good.
That being said, in the London games, always start your dudes. Always start your dudes. I've always had success doing that. Key ended up getting a sack, and whenever he got that sack,
he danced.
The person that I was watching it with, I was like, "Stop! Watch this! Watch this!" He immediately gets up and starts dancing like he's back at LSU.
Love it.
I love seeing that, man. The Seattle Seahawks had this unique pass blocking scheme that I have not seen before, and if you cover them next, go ahead and tell me if you see this too. They have a guy chip, and then he comes back and stands in front of Russell Wilson, almost like protection. And then as soon as he finds somebody, like a sentry gun in Call of Duty, he goes ahead and just starts lighting them up. You know what I mean? So he'll chip, and then he'll reset back to Russell Wilson, and then he'll go back after whoever's coming next. It's kind of crazy.
That's interesting.
I've never seen that before, but they have to get creative to protect Russell Wilson. You know, if you can get him a little bit more time.
Yeah, basically Russell Wilson just scrambles.
Right.
That's basically, he drops back, scrambles.
Right? Runs for his life is what you mean.
Yeah, sorry. I need to rephrase that one.
Lee and Whitehead were in most of the game. This is surprising because, well, most of these guys, we don't know who's going to be playing at the linebacking spot. Have you noticed that covering the Raiders?
Mm-hmm.
They typically sub dudes in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, he really rotates.
Garyon Conley had a touchdown-saving pass breakup. He was greatly positioned most of the game, and he had a couple pass breakups throughout the game. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie ends up getting ran over. He is never giving up on a play. From play to play, he is always there, coming from the backside to make the tackle. I saw this a couple times. I like watching this kid, and if I were considering being a Raiders fan, he may be that pass rusher that keeps me in it. Marcus Gilchrist is a soft tackler. I don't like seeing that, especially whenever I'm watching these film sessions and I have to watch so many games a week. Jonathan Hankins is actually looking really good. He did end up getting sidestepped, but he's making a lot of good penetration.
I am kind of mad I dropped him this offseason.
I think he does a really good job of creating separation and shedding that block to get back to the runner. P.J. Hall is trying to go for the strip sack versus the tackle. That's something you do not like seeing. And P.J. Hall also almost got an interception off a deflection, but he ends up dropping it. Something you expect to see from a defensive lineman. This Eric Harris dude, never heard of him before. He ends up creating a pass deflection, and Garyon Conley ends up getting the interception. Next week they're on a bye.
Don't really know. Just
I don't
kind of
know,
toss
man.
up. Yeah.
Arden Key, man. Like, I think this dude may eat. Like, he's finally coming.
I know. Like, what the Raiders need to do is draft another defensive end that can play opposite, so it can really utilize both talents.
Like, it's almost like they had somebody and then he like left.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, it's like some giant hole. It's weird. Oh well, nothing 2 first-rounders can't plug up.
Right.
All right, my next game was the Colts at the Jets. When I read that I had this game, I wasn't super excited, but after watching it, I'm glad I watched it. It was actually a pretty entertaining game all the way through. For the Jets, the home team, they had Lee, who went 8 for 6, 1 pass defense, 1 INT. You had Williamson, who again is up there. He had 5 for 5, 2 pass defenses, 1 interception. These linebackers for the Jets keep getting picks. They're sneaking underneath, jumping back out, and then they're getting picks. I love that stuff. Marcus May goes 5 for 5. The second play of the game is a screen that gets picked by Claiborne, who runs it back for pick 6 off the hands of Mack. And if you listened to me last week, you got that touchdown if you started Claiborne. Just throwing that out there. He had a really good start of that game, and he had some good tackles too. Nickerson almost had a pick on the 4th play of the game, so again, we're straight attacking at the ball. I love that. Allie Cox gets away with a push-off on Adams. I had no idea who this wide receiver was. Even after they said the name like 3 times, I'm like, who is Allie Cox? I don't know who that is.
Allie Cox.
Yeah, but he has like an awesome last name. I want him to like. He's a dude with like blonde dreads. I don't know where he came from or where he went to college, I guess I should say. Great underplay by Claiborne. Claiborne's really getting into the wide receivers and cutting off their routes. McLendon blows up the line and gets a tackle for loss on the 2-yard line as the Colts were diving. Then a pass breakup by Williamson to stop the drive to a field goal. So they did bend, but they didn't break. Adam comes in and gets a forced fumble on a short yardage run. Again, I think I've said it multiple times after watching the Jets. Adams is blitzing very well, and he's attacking the ball very well. Another deflection interception by Williamson inside the 2 minutes before the half. 2 strong runs to the left had the Jets looking out of place. This is one of those classic setting up plays by running. And they ran twice to the left, and the Jets were like, oh, shit, now they're moving the ball. So they had to, like, readjust real quick. Lee sneaks out of Luke's view, or Luck's view, and then snags a pick, much like the Stafford pick we saw in week, 1? Jets play the lines in week 1, I'm pretty sure. So he basically just ran in, then ran back out and covered, boop, popped the ball. Lee's got some good hands. He must be working with the wide receivers during practice because he's snagging balls out the air. Just really awesome. I wish he'd have got the touchdown. Nickerson may be a really, really nice pickup next week, guys. And I don't say this often. Again, I've been on Nickerson the whole offseason, so you guys are going to probably be like, you're just pushing your same shit. But Nickerson's going to get some playing time because now not only do you have Ski Ryan out, Marcus May's going to be out. He broke his thumb. So he's going to be out at least probably a couple weeks, if not 3 weeks. So Nickerson, dude was playing really well. I think he's going to do nothing but evolve his game. I really like him. And they are going to be playing home versus the Vikings. So, again, I would like to see him versus Thielen, man. I think Thielen's playing really well right now. I like that matchup in my head. I think that looks good. All right, for the Colts, who do you think was the leading tackler for the Colts this week?
Darius Leonard.
No, actually he is second this week.
Anthony Walker.
No, he was third. Dazier, number 1 tackler this week. He went 9 for 8.
I call him Desire.
Desire. Street call card Desire. Leonard went 9 for 5, 1 forced fumble. Walker went 6 for 4, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense. Leonard is flowing well early on again this week. Again, he starts so smooth, man. He basically starts the game like Levante David, and then he closes the game like Alexander. That's basically how he plays. I mean, it's like 2 linebackers in 1. Malik Hooker gets a pick on an underthrown ball. Leonard punches the ball out from Manunwa, and the Colts recover the ball. So, again, that kid, he's smart, man. I feel like he's one of them really, really just smart linebackers that knows how to play the game as a rookie. Can't say enough about him, man. He's been one of the leading tacklers this year. Moore saves a touchdown on a strong Crowell run up the middle. Dazier with a good stop on 3rd down. Jabal mollywops a sack on Darnold. And yeah, I used the term mollywop. That's right. Teray with a reaching face mask. Again, Teray was really unheard from in this game except for the face mask call. The Colts keep holding the Jets to field goals. The score is really deceiving, honestly, because the Colts were bending, but they were stopping them in the red zone. they were just getting field goals. And, I think the kicker had like 6 or 7 field goals. It was nuts. For the Colts, it's the same guys for me. Still the rookies. Go out and get them. There's no one else that I'd really just be jumping at the bit to go get besides the ones we've already talked about. Their next game is going to be versus the Bills. So Jabal Sheard and Toure, I think, may have a little bit better advantage because we still don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Bills this week. So could be really gamer's choice on this one.
All right. Are you done?
Yep.
Sweet. This was actually a decent game.
Really?
It really was.
I'm tired of watching the Texans. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. They closed it hard. I'll get to it.
I'm surprised they didn't go to overtime for the 3rd time this season.
Oh, man. It was not going to overtime this game, though. So you have the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. For the Buffalo Bills, Jermaine Edmonds goes 7 of 9. Milano goes 3 of 8. Pass breakup. Gaines goes 3 of 7 with a pass breakup. Poyer goes 4 of 5 with a pass breakup and an interception. Williams gets 2 sacks. Alexander gets 1.5. Hughes gets 1.5 like we'd projected. Lawson gets 1. Murphy gets a half sack. Bush gets a half sack. Alexander also had a pick. Renzo Alexander. Pass rusher, this 37-year-old who's doing it all.
Hasn't really done much since week 1 too. Fantasy point wise, I guess I should say. Fantasy
this guy's blowing up dudes. So their defensive line is dominating the line of scrimmage. Guys are fighting well across blocks to get tackles. What we've expected to see from anybody playing against Houston. It's his same. All right, Milano is also flowing the ball. He's really good at exploding in one direction and committing with his eyes. He is much more than just a run stuffer that he is pegged as. A lot of people end up saying, oh, this dude's just a run stuffer. This dude makes plays, man. I absolutely love him. Remember I used to talk about this guy as Little Luke, and you would give me the weirdest face. And I'm like, man, there's something about this dude that I saw in Boston College.
Go get you a Milano Raiders jersey.
I've thought about getting a Milano Buffalo Bills jersey just because I love watching this dude so much.
How old is Milano?
Milano is in his 2nd year.
2nd year?
Yeah.
His name just makes him sound so old. Maybe it's because he plays near Alexander, so I think they're all old.
Maybe.
I don't know why. I always think Milano. Where's Milano from? Where did he go to college?
Boston College.
He's BC?
Yeah, right behind Luke.
Well, that makes sense.
Raphael Bush almost got a sack. Eddie Yarborough not giving up on plays. Not really seeing him in the stat sheet, but that's something we like seeing is that effort. Teron Johnson is knifing in on run support. Hughes almost registered another sack, but they got the ball away from him. He ended up getting shook by Watson. Lorenzo Alexander got a forced fumble. Lorenzo also tips the ball to himself for that interception that we talked about earlier. Trent Murphy looked like he pulled up whenever he was hitting the quarterback. We saw that in the Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots game, which Paul will talk about later. But we're seeing that a lot now. A lot of players that would get sacks end up pulling up and they don't end up finishing. And that hurts you in fantasy. So if that's disappointing you and you end up losing because you didn't get that sack, we want to hear about it on Twitter. You can find us at IDP Empire on Twitter. Also, give us the hashtag IDP. Hashtag IDP. I always like seeing that because it makes it easy to find those questions that you may have and other people may have as well. Anytime we give out little nuggets like, say, Derwin James, this is the best D-back. Obviously, that's qualitative and we're going to give quantitative data. But if you add us, please use the hashtag IDP. Trent Murphy got a forced fumble. Harrison Phillips gets the fumble recovery. Jerry Hughes got a forced fumble / strip sack. And Milano gets the recovery. This dude is a beast, bro. Are you looking up Matt Milano right now?
No.
Okay, I was like, Paul's research. Hughes also got a forced fumble and another hurry. An interesting story is Shaq Lawson and DeAndre Hopkins went to high school together. They both played on the same varsity basketball team.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they both went to Clemson at the same time.
Nugget of the week goes to Buck Archer.
I knew Paul would really enjoy
Nuggets.
that. Next week, they're at the Colts, and I'm going to look for Andrew Luck to throw a pick. And he's going to throw a pick to Poyer. I'm calling it right now. But I'm going to pick up Jerry Hughes because that offensive line is trash. and we've seen him get so close in the past couple weeks. He ends up registering 1.5 sacks and a couple tackles this week with a forced fumble. I think he's going to do the same, if not more. Bold take.
Bold take. I like bold takes.
But if you did listen to us last week, you got him on a good skid. Hopefully you started him, and you can start him next week. Because a lot of people don't know about Jerry Hughes because he's one of those older guys that wasn't always flashy. You know what I mean? The Houston Texans, you've got Cunningham, who goes 9 for 13. McKinney goes 6 for 11 with a sack. How do you feel about dropping him now in our redraft league? Didn't you drop him in our redraft league?
Who?
You, McKinney.
No.
Oh,
I never had him.
I thought somebody did. I think he's available in our Yahoo league.
Say, I don't think I dropped him because I've stopped caring about that team.
Jonathan Joseph goes 5 for 6, 2 pass breakups, an interception, and a touchdown.
Nice.
The old Jonathan Joseph. He's like, what, 39 years old?
Well, I mean, when you get the ball thrown right to you, and it's pretty nice to have a pick 6 off of it. Backup quarterback garbage.
Reed goes 3 of 4. Watt ends up getting a sack. Kareem Jackson ends up getting the game-sealing interception after the Jonathan Joseph pick 6. Is it me? Did you see that snap that I had with Josh Allen throwing across his body as he was going out of bounds?
Yeah.
So Josh Allen breaks the pocket. He runs towards the sideline, and he looks back, and there is LaShawn McCoy in the middle of the field just looking over at Josh Allen. And Josh Allen just rears back and throws it as he's walking out of the out-of-bounds area. I do not know how he got that to him and how that was not picked, man. Nobody in their right mind would throw that pass.
No.
I was just looking.
Good thing they got Derek Anderson because they're
Right.
going to probably need him next week if his elbow's still jacked up.
Scarlett ends up getting a muff punt. We never really mentioned special teams guys, but he's balling. Later on, he ends up getting a recovery off a blocked punt by Terrell Adams of the Texans. Sharice Wright is a good tackler, but he is piss poor in coverage. He ends up letting a touchdown slip by.
I think I said that last week. The Trace Wright can't cover anybody.
Watt looks second late on each play from the quarterback. The very next play that I write that, he ends up getting a sack.
It's because he's worried about the next hurricane.
Right.
J.J. Watt, a.k.a. the Weatherman.
That is really good. McKinney is playing sideline to sideline. He must have had an injury plaguing him earlier on this season because we did not see the same McKinney. He is executing and he's running downhill and blowing up the backers. Cunningham did a really good job jumping into the flats, then smashing Allen as he tried to run for more yards. Kareem Jackson is playing extremely well this game as a corner. The past couple weeks, as he transitioned back to corner from safety, I didn't really see it, but this week he looked like a shutdown corner, and I love seeing that because he's one of those dudes I fell in love with this offseason.
Kareem Jackson.
I think Reed is terrible, and that's just my 2 cents. I don't know what your thoughts are on Reed. Justin Reed.
Up and down, yeah.
Clowney's creating a lot of pressure, but it's not translating. I saw teams in the past couple weeks cutting him and J.J. Watt. What I mean by this is they'll jump down on all fours and try and take out his shins. What happens is Clowney puts his hands down and they throw over him. Typically happens when they're throwing to that side just to get his hands down and he's not batting balls.
Yeah, we got to on J.J. Swat.
Right. The Weatherman.
The Weatherman.
Okay, so Jonathan Joseph ends up getting a pick 6 with 1:23 minutes left. He just dials it up, and then boom, he executes and breaks on the ball, picks it, and then he starts dancing. I thought he was going to get it stripped from him. But Jonathan Joseph, one of the oldest D-backs in the league, I think of Revis because they kind of came in about the same time period. It's just so satisfying to see him make that pick 6.
Yeah.
Because he's always been with this team. I actually made him the cover athlete of our website for the week. I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but I change it up weekly. Especially with a big play like this, I think he deserves it. The next drive, Kareem Jackson ends up getting an interception, and he almost returns it for a touchdown as well.
Perryman's fucking awful, bro. I hate watching him throw balls,
Peterman.
man. Peterman. Sorry, he don't even get to serve his name, Sarah.
But next week the Jags are against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or the Texans are against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That threw me. I was like, wait, what? Hold on, what?
They're at Jacksonville. And if Fournette ends up coming back, I think McKinney's the play. Picking up. And you got to be in a smaller league. I'm assuming that he's been dropped in medium-sized leagues because of his piss-poor play earlier on in the season. But I think he's the pickup, and I'm going to go ahead and start him against Fournette because he could rack up a lot of tackles.
Yeah. I wanted to go back and notate. I forgot to mention, I don't know why I spaced on it, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Smith did get fired as their D coordinator. I kind of forgot to bring that up. He got let go because they are awful and letting out a lot of points. Mike Duffner is going to be his replacement. He's the linebackers coach. Just throwing that out there, so we don't know what's going to happen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. I feel bad. I kind of forgot about it. My next game is the Panthers at the Redskins. Man, I had like the games that have the great color schemes. You know how some games are just visually appealing? Mm-hmm. Like the Vikings wearing purple and the Cardinals coming in with the red and white. Just visually appealing. Same thing with the Panthers and Redskins. I just like those two colors. I love Josh Norman playing against the Panthers. I always love it. For the Redskins, the home team, Swearinger went 7 total, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Dunbar, 6 for 6. Brown, 5 for 5, 1 tackle for loss. This is the game I expected from Dunbar. He's the guy who gets thrown at. He is much the Trey Waynes of this team, for sure. On a punt return, the Redskins score on a fumble by Moore. Moore basically had a horrible game, and I work with 2 Panthers fans, so I basically get the insight on how terrible some of their players are, and I love it. A guy from work was saying that DJ Moore pretty much cost him the game, and I would tend to agree. The Skins were swarming everywhere. They were like a backfield of bees, just swarming around. Everyone was getting in on it. I liked it. I like seeing defenses play with energy like that. Dunbar got beat on a curl route for a catch. I still don't understand how cornerbacks get beat. He got beat bad. Let's put it that way. He got beat real bad. The one thing that I liked about the Redskins defense that I haven't seen from others, they were stopping the read option. They were making Cam and McCaffrey look like idiots in the backfield. Nice. Because they would go after both of them. They didn't care who got it. And I really like seeing that because we know this is a game plan, but they know that the Panthers are going to run a lot of stupid read options. And Cam always does that, and he'll pull it down and run himself. An arrogant throw gets Norman his first pick. How many games has it been since Josh Norman got an interception?
19.
20.
20? Oh, that's close.
I know, it was real close. I don't know. I didn't think it'd be 20 games, man. That's a whole season without a pick. It's crazy. Right. Later on in the game, Norman makes another play. He gets a forced fumble punch out by the rookie, Moore. Foster recovers. Great thing, a little insight that I learned was Josh Norman used to work with Peanut Tillman in the offseason. So he really learned a lot of those skills, and he actually credited that to Peanut Tillman. So I always say he did it like Peanut. He really did do it like Peanut. Dunbar gets outplayed by the Funch Bunch for a great touchdown catch. He basically just grabbed it over and be like, boy, give me that. Whoop! Took it. Love it. The Funch Bunch was making plays on everybody in the secondary for the Redskins. They could not contain the Funchness. I love it. Not seeing enough fire off the line for the Redskins. That was the problem I had all game. It was like watching Green Bay's pass rush. Like, it was really non-existent off the line. Like, I expect more to get back there. They're giving Cam a lot of time to throw. The Redskins hold the Panthers out of the end zone later on in the game. I really think next week Foster is primed for a bounce-back game. They're going to be at home versus the Cowboys. I really think the Cowboys are going to run with Dak looking better, and whoever does the radio announcing when the Cowboys play on the radio, I think he has a secret crush on Dak Prescott because every time Dak Prescott ran for like 2 yards, it was like God walking on land. It was nuts, man.
My God!
I thought I heard a lot from the Chiefs announcers, but my goodness. I was like, dude, okay, he had one decent game, and yes, it is the Jaguars, but I don't think the Jaguars showed up in Dallas. I think they got lost somewhere. I think they just pulled dudes from the stands. All right, for the Panthers, again, I think we both told you last week, the linebackers were going to come back. And this was it. Luke Kuechly, 8 for 8, 2 tackles for loss. Davis, 6 for 5, 2 pass defenses. Adams, 6 tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense. Luke gets lost in transition early in the game, and Davis gets a touchdown pass. Jackson with a classic one-on-one tackle. Jackson is making these great tackles, and I love seeing this from rookies. I don't care about necessarily the picks and all that stuff. I want to see a dude tackle on the outside because quarterbacks are always going to target rookies. Luke with a lovely, I think I meant to put lovely. Luke had a lovely tackle for loss. I put love it. I'm I don't think I meant to say that. Jackson later on breaks up a nice pass. I mean, the kid just plays aggressive, and I like it. Addison with a great coverage sack. Adams was coming to life in the second half. I feel like that's really where all his tackles came from was the second half of this ball game. Davis with a great looking pass up, man. You have to go watch this play. Because Davis, again, old. He's 105 years old. He does a one-handed behind his back, swats a ball down. I loved it. I replayed it 4 times. I was like, "Attaway, old man."
Was it a snap? Whoosh,
he turned around, boom, flipped it down. I loved it. I absolutely love that pass defense. The Panthers didn't get enough turnovers, and that was really what I feel cost them the game. They need to make something happen next week at the Eagles. They have to. You got to make a statement win in the NFC, and beating the Eagles at home is a statement win. I really like the play from Addington. He could be a really cheap buy at a defensive line spot because the Eagles, I really think, are struggling at wide receiver right now, and I think they're going to pound the rock early and try to outplay and scheme to get Luke away. So Addington may become available. So I like him next week.
All right, I've got the Steelers versus the Bengals. For the Steelers, Williams goes 6 of 7 with the sack. Sutton goes 5 of 5 with the pass breakup. Hilton goes 4 of 5 with the pass breakup. Hargrave gets a sack, and Tuitt gets a sack. No interceptions for the Steelers. As you can tell, I have very few notes because it's all the same stuff. And we're starting to see this more and more as the season starts to wear on.
Well, we even talked about it.
Right.
We're seeing, we go from trying to pick out players, and now we're at the part where we know what they're going to do. We're just waiting for someone to stand out.
Right. It's almost like the teams, we talk about this in business a lot in school, the norming stage, where everything starts to get shaken up, and then stuff starts to gel, and then you don't really get performers that end up coming out of the gelling stage as a group of people come together to create a team. So that's kind of where we're at in the season right now. If a guy does end up blowing up, it's going to be one of those guys that comes in from an injury. And most of the time we're going to see that, and we're going to know who to pick up. That being said, Joe Hayden is coming inside to help a lot in the run game this week. He ends up dropping a pick that falls right into his lap. You don't like seeing that.
Got to send him that meme of himself giving that what face. What?
Williams is clutch in run support. Surprisingly, he matches up well on Mixon, and I saw that over and over and over again throughout this game.
Wait, Joe Mixon came back this game?
Yep.
Dang, okay, cool. I didn't know that. I haven't watched anything from that.
That game was pretty good. It ended well.
I might have to go rewatch it. I did see the last touchdown. I saw the second touchdown. Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into it on the air. Anyways, Anthony Chickalo was on Boyd. He looks terrible in the flats.
Chickalo.
Really, the Steelers have been reeling ever since they lost Shazier. They haven't really addressed their linebackers. They haven't, man.
They got John Bostic, the playmaker.
Bro.
John Bostic has been playing good. You got to even admit.
He did not get more than 5 tackles, though.
They still won.
Okay. John Bostic didn't even show up in my notes.
I feel like John Bostic's played a lot better than he did with the Colts last year. 100%.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think it's the visor. He went to a visor and it just works for him now.
Burns ends up getting roasted by Boyd. Joe Hayden gets beat by Boyd as well. Boyd went off this game. Hargrave is killing the right guard. Look for this matchup against this dude the next couple weeks. Next week, the Bengals are playing the Chiefs, so expect Justin Houston to have a huge game against that right guard. If they bring him in, or not Bailey, Allen. Allen should have a good game.
Is Houston back now? Or is he still out with injury?
He's
Will he be back next week?
That's a good question, man. Really he's always gone. He's always back. He's always not there.
Y'all still need me.
Right. But D Ford is a guy, I don't know if he came up in your notes. We don't have to jump to the Chiefs right now.
Well,
Anyways,
I will jump right in. No, I'm just kidding.
for the Bengals, Bates goes 4-9 and leads the team. Burfict goes 4 of 8 with 2 pass breakups. Preston Brown goes 3 of 8. Denard goes 4 of 4. No sacks, no interceptions for the Bengals. Linebackers are being attacked by Vance McDonald over and over and over and over again.
Dr. Stiffarm.
Right. He would come over the top in just like a curl, and then he'd come over the top in a slant. He'd do a little zig and go out. He would just go straight out to the flats, and the outside linebacker would have to come out on him. He was destroying the Bengals.
I like it.
They could not do anything. If you have him in PPR, you're killing.
That's because Vigil was out. That's the only reason.
Vincent Ray, bro.
Let's be honest with each other.
All right. Sean Williams gets road graded on the edge, my bad. He leaves the game, and Fedulum comes in for a bit. Carlos Dunlap ends up tipping the ball up in the air, and Sam Hubbard gets the interception.
Damn.
Or no, drops the interception.
Oh, yeah.
And then he tips it up in the air, and then Big Ben gets it to himself and runs with it for a little bit and gets the first down. Nothing really to take away from this. It's just one of those funny plays you like seeing as the D-line's like scrambling for the interception.
I love it when like 3 or 4 guys go up for the ball at one time and they all just go and just fall.
Fall, yeah. Burfict does end up tipping the ball that was thrown right to him. Nothing ends up coming from this, but that's a clear drop and an interception that could have been next week. You know, it didn't happen this week. Vigil left the game early in the second quarter, and faithful Vincent Ray was in there. Vincent Ray does not show up huge on the stat sheet, but look for him to come up big against the Chiefs. William Jackson is playing big on the edge, and he's not getting thrown to a lot. Tony McRae, never heard of this dude, is in, and he's giving up big plays at the end of the game. Ooh, Vincent Ray is the obvious guy that I'm going to pick up against the Chiefs, although I think they're going to be throwing a lot, and I think Fedulum may be that dude if Sean Williams is out for an extended period.
My thing is, how did the Chiefs get 2 Sunday night games in a row?
I don't know.
I haven't seen very many teams ever get 2 in a row.
Right, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, they probably
They'll get a Sunday, Monday. One thing I saw last season was a lot of like Sunday nights ended up turning into Monday nights. And obviously it's just one team that can do that, but
yeah. I just think it's weird. Like, I didn't expect them to have 2 Sunday night games. I thought I misheard it on the radio. But yeah, good thing I have Vincent Ray still on my depth chart. Not bad, Horden Bengals. Who looks stupid now? All right, my next...
when it's a dynasty, you should be,
Right?
you should be diverse, Paul.
I dropped Jordan Evans, okay? It was very hard for me.
All right.
I only had him because of injury, but whatever. All right, I had the Cardinals at the Vikings. For the Vikings, Ioka. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. He had 8 total tackles, 5 solo. Smith goes 7 for 4, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack. Rhodes Close goes 5 for 5. Waynes gets beat by Cutie on the outside. Not surprised. Barr with a ball bat down. Later, he punches the ball out of the hands of D. Johnson. Alexander with a sack on a corner blitz. Again, Hughes went out. I guess I'll just cover that first. Mike Hughes has been a huge, really good point gainer. He is now going to be done for the season. He tore his ACL on, I believe, the 6th play now that I researched it, because I was wondering where he went. That really sucks, man. He was a rookie who had a lot of promise, and it bums me out that I'm not going to be able to, 1, start him, or 2, get to see him keep growing. But that may give some more play to Holton Hill, so may not all be doom and gloom. And I hate rooting for the Vikings, which I don't. Just the players. Root for the players. So with that said, Alexander stepped up, and I thought he played really well. The Vikings stuffed the run on a 4th and goal early in the first half. Hunter with a great effort sack. This guy shedded 2 blocks, did a spin move, got in there for the sack. I feel like he's really been stepping up the last couple weeks, just like I mentioned last week in the waiver pickups. Waynes, I actually saw him have sticky coverage. He looked like Sticky Rice out there, just sticking on his wide receiver, and I loved it. The Vikings pin the Cards deep, and then the next play, Smith gets a near safety on the blitz. I honestly thought it was a safety the first time I watched it, but ended up being just down to 1. Anthony Harris gets a pick by reading the throw the whole way. Don't know a lot about Anthony Harris. I just happened to see him get a pick. He really just read the quarterback perfectly. Rosen did not look off the pass. He just stared right at his wide receiver the whole way. With the lead, I really saw the Vikings letting the pass rushers loose, and that was really flustering Rosen. It's what the Vikings do. If they get a lead, they're going to come at you. Vikings. The Cardinals give some sign of life late in the fourth quarter with a touchdown drive, but the Vikings still prevail and win this game. Again, I originally had Hughes as my pickup when I thought he was just going to be out this game, but now I'm going to go ahead and switch that up and go with Alexander. Kid was playing really well. He's going to have to step into that role. He's got some shoes to fill, but I think he'll be able to do it. So look for him next week. They're going to be at the Jets. For the Cardinals, you had Bethea. Okay, and before I get into this, you know how I always make fun of the Chargers for having all the Williams? They have like 5 Williams on their roster.
Yeah.
Why is everyone in the secondary for the Cardinals all have a B starting with their last name?
Baker,
Bethea, and then you have Bynes, Boston. They have all the B's, man. It's crazy. I thought it was a super funny thing when I was actually looking at the stats. I'm like, B, 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 B. I'm like, what the hell's happened? I thought it was funny.
Did you hear the rumor?
What?
About Patrick P. and Chandler Jones?
Mm-mm.
Rumor has it that the Cardinals are wanting to sell them for picks.
The
Kansas City Chiefs are talking about trying to trade for them.
They need Patrick Peterson.
And Chandler Jones.
I don't think they need Chandler Jones. There's a lot of people. I would love to get in that. Green Bay should get in that thing for Chandler Jones, man.
Of course, I knew that was coming.
Bro, I want pass rushers, man. Like, I'm dying for a freaking pass rusher off the edge, bro. Dying for it.
I mean, you'll have 2 first-round draft picks next season.
Yeah, we could have traded that for Khalil Mack, whatever. All right. For the Cardinals, Bethea had 11 total, 9 solo. Baker went 9 for 9, 2 tackles for loss, and a tutty. Got that touchdown in there, little tutty action. Bynes went 8 for 3, 1 tackle for loss. Benson Mayowa. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
Mayowa.
God damn. I hate this. I hate these names. All right. He gets a batted ball on the first drive and then gets another batted ball on the next play. Doing his best Cam Jordan impersonation. Loved it. But then he saves a touchdown throw by playing the strafe button, just like in Madden, just strafe back. Strafe back. Don't let him cut. Later, he can't bring down Murray and gets eaten by the stiff arm. It was a nasty stiff arm. Murray just went palm face down. I love good stiff arms, man. It was up there with the Vance McDonald stiff arm on Conti. If he would have gotten hurt, then it would have been perfect. You know, it would have been right up there on that level. Cousins is really finding holes in the zone coverage that the Cardinals are playing. Later, they switch to man. They do this a lot. They start in zone, switch to man. Chandler Jones hit Murray with one of those damn type of tackles. It was nice. I liked it. On 3rd and 1, the Cardinals make Cousins throw the ball away, and it gets picked by who else? Trey Boston. That's right.
What a stud.
He's been making the rounds on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Everyone's been retweeting or tweeting about Boston. Either that or they're confused about baseball. Could be either one. I don't know. Jones strips Cousins, and Baker scoops and scores. So you got 2 of your better playmakers out there making plays. So if they are shipping Jones, Jones put out a hell of a resume against the Vikings at Minnesota. So I don't know why. I think if the Vikings honestly were better on offense, this could have been a Buffalo Bills situation where they could have played them a lot closer than what it should have been. I mean, it was generally pretty close. Reddick gets a 4th blocked pass of the first half for the Cardinals. 4 batted passes. I don't know what Minnesota's doing, but obviously the Cardinals figured it out. And I thought the pass rush looked really well in the first half for the Cardinals. I thought they had a really good game in the first half. Even though they did a lot of touchdowns, I feel like they're doing good. Bynes gets thrown over for a touchdown. We're really seeing teams really go after those mismatches. Bynes on a wide receiver or a fast tight end is just straight mismatch. You can't do it. Cardinals are getting close to sacks, and close to getting stops. But the Vikings, honestly, I felt like they were just getting lucky. Because there was a couple times they had Cousins almost dead to rights. He still got out of it, man. You know, this is the most I've seen from the Cardinals. I actually liked watching this game. If you ask me about the first 2 games I had to watch of theirs, I thought they were garbage. But I'm seeing a lot more now. Maybe it's just because the Vikings' offensive line isn't that good, but they were really getting at it. And, again, a couple plays here and there, this may have been a different ballgame, man. I'm telling you, it could have been a Bills situation. Bynes had a really nice tackle for loss up the C-gap. He read it, hit it, got that tackle. Golson gets a sack on the very next play after Bynes kind of kills him with the rush. Evans, I really feel like the pressure was there, but again, I hadn't seen it the last few games. But I really thought the Cardinals pulled off and looked pretty decent. Bynes should see some more solos this week with Denver coming to the desert. The Broncos tend to run a little bit more on the road than they do at home, which I think is weird, but I don't know if they think the ball's lighter. I mean, if the Patriots come to town, it probably is lighter, but hell if I know. And that's all I got for that one. It was a good game.
All right. I have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Denver Broncos. For the Rams, Hill goes 7-7, Joyner goes 5-7 with a sack, Brocker goes 4-5, Littleton goes 4-5 with 2 pass breakups, Donald gets a sack, and Johnson gets a pick.
Who's Hill?
Hill is a cornerback.
Cornerback, okay.
Samson Ibakum ends up getting a strip sack. He's disruptive, but not high on the stat sheet this week, like I expected him to be.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Ibakum, man. I really like that kid.
Marquis Christina. Whenever I looked up this name, I was like, you gotta be shitting me. Who the hell is Marquis without, like, anything? Marquez is what it kind of looks like it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Christina.
It's like they didn't.
Christian.
It's like when they were filling out the birth certificate, they just didn't finish the name. Like he got distracted. Marquis. Wait, what'd you say? Okay, put down the last name. Wait, what'd you say?
Christina. Oh, is that your name or is that his name? He was in a lot. He's not a great tackler or a coverage guy. Not picking him up, but he's going to be out there, and he may end up showing up on the stat sheet one of these weeks. So, Paul, if you get this game in a couple weeks, don't be surprised if you get Christina out there going off. Nickel Roby Coleman ends up getting a pick. Mark Barron is in man and matched up on Lindsey most of the game. He got beat on the screen. Other than that, he looked decent. He did not show up high on the stat sheet, so somebody may drop him in one of your leagues. Pick him up.
Mm-hmm. It's going to take him another game or so to get ready. I think the Green Bay's game is going to be back when he's to full form, honestly.
It kind of seems like these guys coming back from injuries have wind-up games, you know, games where they get their feet back underneath them and then, like, 2 games back.
Honestly, I think it's because the practice schedule these days. They don't practice a ton anymore, even on a full schedule.
Keep this little nugget in mind, though, whenever it comes back to playoffs. You know, you get a guy returning for playoffs, don't start him that first week back, even if you do need him. So Peters is getting shredded on the edge. Aaron Donald ends up going after Case Keenum, and he punches him in the face. And he did not get called for it. It's kind of crazy because he was in the pocket, too, and you would expect that to happen, you know?
It reminds me of the Clay Matthews commercial for Call of Duty that we just watched a while ago. roughing the window. Flag.
Packers humor.
It cracks me up. Clay didn't get called for roughing the passer at the end of the game. I thought they were going to throw the flag.
Yeah.
But Donald can punch somebody in the face.
Right, because Aaron Donald. LaMarcus Joyner ends up ripping Emmanuel Sanders to the ground. He spins so many times in his pursuit to the quarterback, but somehow manages to get a sack later on. It was kind of funny. It was like, you know how you're like playing offense in Madden and you got the ball and you just accidentally hit spin too many times? That's what it looked like. He was just like, spin, spin, spin. Boom, I'm back to the quarterback. Shields is hot and cold in coverage. I am not picking this dude up. He's not really hitting the stat sheet for IDP. Corey Littleton ended up getting a tip, and John Johnson ends up getting the pick. Littleton had made a couple pass breakups throughout the game. I believe he had 2 or 3. Brockers actually hurt his right forearm and elbow and was down a couple plays. He did end up making it back in the game later on, and he finished with 4 out of 5 tackles. Next week, they're against the 49ers. Paul, what did you see in the Packers game that leads some light? Was it the linebackers? Was it the D-backs? The defensive line having success?
For the 49ers or for Green Bay?
For Green Bay against the 49ers tonight.
I feel like the pass rush didn't really get there, but I feel like we weren't blitzing. I feel like when we blitzed, though, it really affected them, and the Rams are really good at blitzing, so I can see a lot of blitz packages.
And they have that defensive line where they don't have to send as many people, too.
That is true.
I can't really think of a guy that's going to be available. Like Aaron Donald's the clear dude. Corey Littleton, Mark Barron.
Yeah, I feel like that's
John
where we're
Johnson.
getting with the Rams. Like, most of them should be picked up,
right.
you know.
So
watch for movement on Peters, in my opinion, because he's been getting shredded a lot.
Right.
Some of the thinner leagues where you got to make choice decisions.
So you're getting rid of Peters.
If there's some other options that are getting more tackles, because I think he's just getting beat.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but I don't know.
He's a trap corner, just like Sherman.
Yeah, he'll turn it around and get some picks for you or something like that, you know.
For the Denver Broncos, Stewart goes 8-9 with half sack, pass breakup, and interception. That was Paul's call last week on the waiver wire. Pecco goes 5-6. Davis goes 4-6 with the pass breakup. Marshall goes 4-6. Chubb gets 3 sacks. Vaughn gets 1.5 sacks. The defensive line is getting worked in the running game, though. Todd Gurley had a career game.
Over 200 yards, baby.
Bradley Roby ends up getting roasted by Cooks. He blows up a play and causes Gurley to fumble. He gets burnt by Woods and Mann later on.
I said it last week. Roby sucks.
He really does. You should have seen Paul's face just now. Holy cow. Both eyebrows were raised and his forehead was crinkled. He was like, Roby sucks.
Yeah. Well, I had to watch him last week. God, he's awful.
Stewart is diagnosing the run and coming up to stop Gurley. He looks great in space. He ends up getting a pick off of Reynolds' face mask. So the ball was thrown, and I think, who was it? Roby tips the ball, actually, and it hits Reynolds right in the face mask. And it was just so fast that he couldn't get his hands up to catch it. And Stewart was right on the other side of Reynolds, and it pops right into Stewart's hands, and he's like, later, dude.
Love it. That's fun.
He takes off with it. Chubb is destroying double teams, bro. Like, this is what we saw from him in college, and it's nice to see him and Vaughn on opposite sides.
With all my injuries, he may get the call-up next week.
He may need to be started in your Dynasty League.
Could have used the points.
Vaughn is still creating pressure, though. You know, it's not one of those things where Vaughn is just disappearing into the ether. He's going to be back. He's going to be leading the sacks over
What is
Chubb.
Von Miller's number?
58.
Why do I kept thinking it was 88, and I was like, why is Von Miller playing offense? I totally spaced when I was watching this game. I was like, why is he out there? I'm like, oh, wait, he's not 88. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Those edibles hitting you hard?
I guess so. Those Colorado edibles.
Outside of the sacks, the Denver Broncos had 3 total tackle for losses. That is one of those stats whenever I look at a box score, I'm like, yeah, that's probably why he had 200 and some odd yards.
Mm-hmm. It's hard, man. They got one of the oldest offensive linemen in the league, but their offensive linemen move, man. They're a lot like the Cowboys when they were hitting their heyday with the offensive line. They can run.
Yeah, I think they have better maulers than they do pass blockers.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Another thing that I saw that was interesting in this game was Von Miller didn't do his typical sack dance because they were losing by so much. He got his sack, and I don't know if he was upset because Chubb had more sacks than him, or if it was the fact that...
well, they didn't get blown out, did they? I mean, it was like, wasn't it like a touchdown game at the end? I remember watching it, I felt like it was a little bit closer, but I may have missed it. I didn't watch the very end of the game. But I'm excited to watch Denver versus the Cardinals now. If Chubb's playing that well, I may take a shot this week.
Oh, it's 2023.
Yeah.
So it was still close, but they were driving. Next week they're playing against the Cardinals, and I say pick up Chubb, bro, with that Cardinals offensive line.
I may try it. If you're wrong, I'm going to blame you.
All right, blame me.
All right, I had the Bears at the Dolphins. The Bears were actually wearing the uniforms that I don't mind watching, the orange jerseys. So that was honestly a fun game to watch in Miami, surprisingly. And I hate the Bears, but it was fun to watch. For the Dolphins, you had Alonzo go 11 for 9, McMillan 6 for 5, Jones 5 for 4, 1 pass defense. Early on in this game, Quinn closes the corner for a stop. I like seeing Quinn move over in the flats. I think that's really fun to watch. This guy I don't really know, Torrey McTyer, McTyer. McTyer, that's what I'm going with. He makes a textbook one-on-one tackle to stop what would have been a surefire first down. So love seeing corners make a play. Woodard gets a sack, and then Taylor gets a sack right after him. Taylor's a guy who I've really started to like watching, man. I think he has some real potential, and I kind of want to see if he turns into one of those reliability tackles, because I may go get him and put him up there with Kenny Clark on my roster, because I think those two could play well, like fantasy-wise, on the same team. The Dolphins are basically just really all around the ball in the first quarter. They get a forced fumble on the goal line. McDonald basically gets the body forced fumble on Howard, and they end up recovering at the 1 yard line. No one can stop the shovel pass as Burton breaks through the middle. I didn't see it a lot from the Chiefs this game either. I didn't see the shovel pass as much this week.
Right.
So I don't know if they're just going to use it whenever, but a lot of teams have been using the shovel pass. I only saw it really 3 times this whole week, surprisingly. Cohen burns the defense with speed. No one can keep up with that dude's speed in the open field. It's just ridiculous. Whenever I hear Cohen's name, I always think of Cool Runnings when it's Cohen, and Webster. Love that part, man. McDonald gets a huge pick in the end zone to stop the Bears' momentum. It keeps the Dolphins in the game when it was 21-13. Fitzpatrick honestly was covering really well, even though he didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. A near pick by Jones. The next play, there's a breakdown in the secondary, and Miller is wide open for a touchdown. They left him with 30 yards of space on each side. So someone done messed up in that one. The Dolphins bear down as Kiko gets a forced fumble on Cohen to push the game to overtime. Wordplay. Yeah, at its finest. Next week for the Dolphins, I really like McDonald. Especially they're going to be at home versus the Lions. They're getting 2 NFC teams back-to-back. Coming into Miami, I think that'll be an interesting matchup. Lions also coming off the bye week. So they'll have a little bit more time to plan for the Dolphins, meaning they may score a little more. Give them a couple more passes. For the Bears, you have the rookie, Roquan Smith, going 13 for 6. Ton of assisted tackles. I think it's a Miami thing whenever someone goes to Miami, they get a lot of assists instead of solos. Amos goes 9 for 7, 1 pass defense. Trevathan goes 8 for 3. I really like seeing Smith and Trevathan early in this game. I see them flowing very well to the ball. I started seeing a little bit of Roquan as Roquan. This is a play that I should have honestly sent you, and I feel bad I didn't. I'm going to have to go back and get it and send it to you. But Leonard Floyd makes a WWE-style tackle,
I saw it.
He goes up, and as Amendola comes by, he grabs him by the leg in the midsection and flips him to do a reverse exploder suplex. And he gets called for roughness. I think that's bullcrap. That was just an awesome tackle. I think it's because the whistle blew right when he was picking him up. But that's okay. I think that instead of that being called a personal foul, unnecessary roughness, that should be called personal foul, being too nasty for that ass is what it should be called. Because that thing was nice, and I would love that play. I would take that all day as a coach. Roquan is out running down passes, and it's just like what I saw in the college film. There was one play I swear I had a flashback and thought he was in a Georgia uniform for a second, because it was just what Roquan Smith does. He flows and then hits with speed to get out to the runner. I really like seeing that. I'm glad he's finally finding his groove. There's a late pick by Fuller that takes us to halftime, kind of just stopped the Dolphins' drive. There's a second pick by Fuller in the second half as he reads the pass perfectly, and then the Dolphins score on the next play. Honestly, I had not seen Khalil Mack through the third quarter. I think the Dolphins, once I kind of noticed that I hadn't seen him, I started watching, and the Dolphins were honestly just putting 2 guys on him. They were rotating. The guard and the tackle were rotating on him. And I don't know if Mack was tired or what, but he just didn't explode like I thought he would, or at least have some explosive plays. He was really a no-show this week. Wilson burns the secondary on a wide receiver screen as they get turned around, especially Jackson. It was bad. And there's a play later on in this game that after the Bears take the lead, Wilson, who's really an unheard of wide receiver for the Dolphins, he goes through 4 Bears defenders in the middle of the field. He goes through Smith, Trevathan, Jackson, and Fuller, and then runs the rest of the way for the touchdown. It was a crazy play, man. I was like, how do y'all not tackle him? He just ran right through y'all. It made no sense. I was like, just look at it. It makes no sense. Smith was causing a lot of pressure. Twice. Yeah, it did. It really did happen twice for them. Smith was causing pressure in overtime. I like seeing rookies step up when it counts, especially in do or die. A deflection pass gets caught off guard, or gets caught off of Jackson. It was really good coverage. It was just one of those things that happen sometimes. Bears allowed the Dolphins to drive downfield in overtime, but make a stand on the 1 as Drake fumbles. Actually, Hicks was the one who jarred it loose from the bottom of the pile. After missing the field goal, the Bears missed the field goal. Smith gets beat on a pass, and Miami takes it. The Bears need to get Smith working on coverage of those short passes. I would like to stream him next week if I could. Again, they're going to get against the Patriots because the Patriots love the small ball. They love to throw underneath. And Smith, who I think is the natural linebacker to cover flats out of the middle linebacker spot, should be flowing very well and making a lot of productive plays next week. If we can see him play like he does in college, this would be the game that he could have a blow-up game. In other leagues, maybe ones are a little deeper, Amos may be another good play because, again, Amos is going to probably play down in the box because they know what the Patriots do. They're going to throw to Gronk. Deep ball pretty much goes to Gronk, and then they're going to throw underneath to all the other little guys. That's what's going to happen. Because, again, the next game is going to be home versus the Patriots.
For the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Dallas Cowboys, the Jaguars, Smith goes 6 of 10, Boye goes 5 of 6 with a pass breakup, Gibson goes 5 of 6, Campbell goes 4 of 6 with a sack. Ironically, Dak fumbled to himself 2+ times. I only saw it twice that I can remember, but he fumbled and then he picked it up right in stride. It was amazing. Like, if those balls would have went the opposite way, it could have been a completely different game.
Yeah, not a blowout. Jeez.
The Jaguars are in the nickel most of the game. Do you think this is their best personnel?
For Jacksonville?
Yeah.
In the nickel?
Yeah. Just having 2 linebackers, Jack and Smith, and then extra D-back.
Me, not personally. I just don't think the D-backs have been playing that well. And I think Jalen Ramsey's still nicked up. I don't know what's wrong with him either.
Yeah. Miles Jack got a really good hit on Dak whenever he tried to go for extra yards. I'm surprised they didn't get flagged for that. I was expecting Dak to be done. Like it was one of those TKOs.
Nice.
Barry Church took the wrong angle on Dak, and he got closed in. And then Dak took the opposite side of the player that Barry Church blocked himself with for a touchdown run. He got beaten coverage later on for another touchdown. Taven Bryan is actually getting playing time. He ends up getting rounded out by Dak on the sideline. And then another play, he could have got a sack on Dak, but he got disoriented. It's like Dak spun around, and then Taven Bryan spun around, and then Taven Bryan was like looking up into the stands, like, where the hell did Dak go?
He was looking up at the big screen, like, where'd he go? Where's Waldo?
But
they showed Taven Bryan. I saw a little bit at work, just from flashing at the TVs. They kept showing Taven Bryan, so I'm like, is he having a good game or a bad game?
Right.
You know, I kept wondering, because they were rotating him in, I guess, a lot.
He was having a bad game.
Okay. Damn.
Patman, I guess this guy played for KU. One of our buddies in our group me was telling us that he used to play basketball with him. He also played for the Cowboys as well. He has decent play recognition on the screen, and he ends up shutting it down. Other than that, he was piss poor. Leon Jacobs is rarely in, but he looks good on fourth down stand. Yannick Ngakoue finally gets home to the quarterback. This dude is never giving up in the running game either, and I absolutely love watching him. He had a couple tackles for loss from the opposite side of the line where he would trail the running back. He actually chased down Ezekiel Elliott, which is crazy. Jalen Ramsey ends up getting a pick from him, and the wide receiver fell out of bounds in the process. Neither one of them had possession, so it didn't go to Ramsey. Yannick Ngakoue almost got a sack, but he fell towards the line of scrimmage with Dak, and they ruled it above the line of scrimmage, so he didn't end up getting that one as well. Ronnie Harrison looked really hungry out there whenever he tackles players. He got some playing time at the end of the game whenever they were getting blown out. I saw a lot of the rookies in. So I don't think Ronnie Harrison is going to be a starter anytime soon, but it's nice to get those rookies some playing time.
He needs to play more.
Next week they're against the Texans, and I think Yannick Ngakoue is going to be a cheap ad, especially in leagues where he has been dropped because of the lack of production. The Cowboys, Leighton Vander Esch leads the team. He goes 7 of 10 with a pass breakup. Jalen Smith goes 6 of 9. Randy Gregory goes 3 of 3 with the sack. Brown goes 2 of 3. Collins gets a sack. Crawford gets half a sack. Woods gets half a sack. And Heath gets a pick. Jacksonville's offensive line looked terrible this game. Jordan Lewis looks solid to start the game. After that, he kind of trails off and starts allowing a couple passes his way. Malik Collins almost got a sack. He comes up clutch later on with a third down sack to end the drive. Anthony Brown makes a good open field tackle. He has beaten coverage multiple times. Anthony Brown is not one of my corners that I like on this team. I like Byron Jones and what's the other dude? Chidobe Owozie or whatever they call him. Xavier Woods is a poor tackler. Again, another week where I'm disappointed in him wrapping up. Jeff Heath had a huge hit on a Jacksonville wide receiver. You like seeing that? It kind of gets you going, especially whenever you're on the last game of film. You just want to finish it, and it was 45 minutes long. Too many touchdowns. Byron Jones ends up getting a tip, and Heath actually comes up with the interception. Jones is playing extremely well with tight coverage and lockdown on the edge. I expected to see this, especially because he's one of those spark athletes we always talk about. He transitioned well from free safety to corner. Jalen Smith got a forced fumble, and Jordan Lewis got the fumble recovery. Leighton Vander Esch is finishing tackles and playing really well in coverage. And I'm so surprised by his play this season, Leighton Vander Esch. Next week they're playing the Redskins, and I'm going to be picking up Byron Jones. I think Byron Jones is going to have an opportunity to make an interception, especially with Alex Smith playing the way he's been playing.
That's not bad. All right, my last game was the game of the night. The Chiefs at the Patriots. This was the future GOAT versus the old GOAT. It was Ram versus Ram. I don't know. I didn't come up with very many.
That was not that good.
I should have come up with more. David versus Goliath or Goliath versus Goliath. I don't know. It could have been either way. But this was Chris Collinsworth's like wet dream in this game. He was going at both. He's like, ooh, I get to watch Brady and Mahomes. He's like, if just Rodgers could have been in the audience, he would have probably died of being so excited. For the home team, which is the Patriots in this one, you had Flowers going 7 for 2, 1 tackle for loss. Roberts going 7 for 2, 1 pass defense. And Jay McCourty going 6 for 5, 1 pass defense. Okay, are the two McCourtys, Devin and the one that starts with J, are they brothers?
Yep, twins.
Who's... Okay. Because I get confused. One of them needs to put a damn letter on the front of his jersey because I'm like, I don't know which one I'm watching.
Yeah, they're twins.
Is Devin McCourty, I think he's number 30. Because, dude, I'm not going to lie, I got confused a lot in this game, and I was just like, screw it, I'm just putting McCourty and hoping it sticks with somebody. I don't know anymore. I've given up. But either way, the McCourtys were playing up and down.
32.
Devin's 32. Okay, so his brother was the one who was slow. Okay, Jay McCourty was the one who was slow. So that probably makes sense why he had 6 for 5. All right, early on in this game, Hightower gets beat, but Mahomes overthrows the ball. Got lucky on that one. Hightower gets a pick off Mahomes as he hid in coverage, much like Darren Lee. That's what he does. Honestly, I saw a lot out of Hightower. I was very shocked going into halftime how good Hightower looked. It was a good pick, man. I love it when a linebacker hides in coverage.
Alert.
I'm not going to re-watch. They're showing highlights of that stupid Wisconsin game. The Chiefs were moving the ball later on in the second half. Again, starting to pick up momentum, getting their feet underneath them a little bit. The Patriots hold the Chiefs to 3 field goals in the first half. That was huge. You know, you get a team that's coming in there offensively and they're coming in real hot. To get those stops in the red zone is really, really, really good for them. I was very surprised in the first half. Later on, Flowers corrals Mahomes. A tip ball by Harmon gets him a pick in the end zone. Hightower with the pressure on that play. Hightower honestly really caused that interception. An out route by Kareem Hunt burns McCourty, and the Chiefs get a touchdown. I believe that was Jay McCourty, I think. I'm not going to lie, I got confused with the McCourtys. I just said screw it. Hill beats the other McCourty, so I think that was Devin because I think that was number 30, for a touchdown to bring the Chiefs back into contention. A big kickoff return puts the Patriots on the field inside the 5-yard line, so They got lucky they didn't score. They still end up giving up the touchdown, though. Hill outplays McCourty. I think that was Jay McCourty. And gets back in the end zone. That was really one of those backyard type of plays. Because honestly, Tyreek shouldn't even been over there. But he ends up coming in and swooping in and grabs the ball. It was just one of those plays that happen sometimes. You know, he didn't necessarily get beat in coverage. He just got beat by people just running around trying to make a play. The Chiefs are basically dunking on the Patriots. They're just throwing little dunkers over the middle. Devin McCourty drops an interception. Should have had a pick. Basically, it was in his hands. Should have caught it. My big question for the Patriots, and I even put this all in caps, so I'm not going to yell it, but how do you let Tyreek Hill get between the coverage and have at least 7 or 8 yards of clear coverage on each side? How do you let him go? Even in zone coverage, man, like, come on, man. You got to come up and get near him. At least do something.
Right.
But that's the only reason he was effective. And then once he gets a ball in open field, you're damn straight he's probably going to make a play and break you off a piece and run it in.
Right.
You know, even though they were trying to say that Goodwin was faster than Tyreek Hill, Booger McFarland is an idiot. Speed could kill the Patriots in their next game. And from what I watched from Cohen and Anthony Miller, there's some speed there, man. So they could end up getting in that little soft zone that the Patriots play and could make some plays. Again, I would go ahead and just go with Jay McCourty. I think he's going to be targeted again because if he's targeted once, that's going to start a trend. That's the first time I've seen him up on the stat boards. It's really when he's coming back. So I look for him, and they're going to be at Chicago next week. But if he plays on the left side, probably never going to get a pass turnover that way. So we'll see how that goes. For the Chefs, Hitchens goes 14 for 6, 2 tackles for loss. Lucas goes 10 for 4, 1 pass defense. Parker goes 9 for 6. The Chiefs were basically getting stuffed in the middle, but Sony is bouncing into the outside. They were in the right place, but Sony was just making plays. The Chiefs hold on 4th and 3 on the first drive. It was nice to see them get a turnover on downs. 3 Chiefs. This play still baffled me. I had to watch it multiple times to understand it. I still don't get it. But they had 3 Chiefs in the middle of the field, but there's no players around them. They're just basically out there just all bunched up in the middle like something's going to happen. Tom Brady's going to kill you with that kind of play. Like, he literally threw to the corner, a little bit faded outside, and there's a guy wide open. He's going to kill you every time with that. Because Tom Brady doesn't throw deep balls very often anymore. Jones gets a strip on Brady. Again, a great play. It was a good turnover. Jones just comes up, smacks him right in the chest, and hits his arm as well. The Chiefs can't stop the soft passes and the runs in the first half. It was basically run outside, dump outside, run outside. That's how they worked over and over again. There's so many holes in the run game. They're just shredding in all of them. Sony is really just beasting. Even White was getting in on it. Coverage sack, gets a forced fumble caused by Speaks, and Bailey recovers. I was really hoping that Speaks was going to jump on that ball so he could possibly just wave at the camera. I was hoping for it. I really wanted it. Man.
It looked just like it, too.
I really wanted it. I was just going to wait for the little wave. I was so happy.
We saw that in college.
Yeah. It's one of the great gifts if you can go out there and find it. It's just him laying on the ground just waving. He did get down that game.
Let's have a debate. Is that a GIF or a GIF?
I call them GIFs or GIFs. I don't know. I've said it both ways.
Me too. I've been corrected by people. They're like, "Oh, what did you just call it?" I'm like, "Chill out, bro."
Calm down. We could just say emotion meme.
Right. Emotion meme.
That's funny stuff. Later on, I really felt like the Chiefs missed tackling school. Hitchens, Parker, and Lucas are all missing tackles. I hate when people miss tackles, man. It really irritates me now.
How does that translate to IDP too?
Taking away opportunities, man. Just taking away points. And it may just end up getting you assists with a shoestring tackle. But I even wrote in here, holy shit, Tom Brady threw a deep ball. Took till late in the third quarter, but it happened. Finally threw one. Then Brady runs for a touchdown. Why Speaks didn't finish the tackle, I don't know. Maybe he thought there was going to be a flag if he did. He came out after the game and actually said that. Again, I didn't have that information when I wrote this note, but he said that he thought Tom Brady got rid of the ball, so he didn't want to tackle him. I honestly just think he didn't finish the play. Really? And I feel like he was covering for himself, really, because I watched that play multiple times.
I didn't see that.
basically Brady was stepping up, and Speaks had an arm on him.
I thought he had.
But I thought he kind of stumbled out of position, and then like looked up, and Brady was running past him.
Not only that, but I think he may have thought he heard a whistle.
Yeah, and that could have been, very well could have been. It was one of those plays that you're just not for sure. But again, when Tom Brady runs in for a touchdown, it's just not good on anybody. Ron Parker gets a nasty stiff arm from Gronk. I got some sweet stiff arm action this week. You had Murray just stiffing Buffet, and then you have Gronk just going, and just throwing Ron Parker to the ground and running. I hate the Patriots, but I love that play. Like, it was nasty. Using that brace on that arm, just throwing him down to the ground. I was in love with that play. It's going to be a highlight play for him, even though he didn't score. The little dumps and Hitchens can't keep up with Sony Michel. He's a mismatch, man. Gronk outplays, I think his name was like Soshif. I don't really know what his name is. Number 30 for the Chiefs. I have no idea what his name was. I was like, who is number 30? And even when they pronounced it, I'm like, I don't know what that name is. So, very confused. But he got to Gronk on a deep completion later on this game, kind of set up a lot of stuff. I think next week they're going to be at home versus the Bengals.
Josh
Shaw. Sorry about that. Yeah, they said it like Joseph on the announcer. I think Al Michaels didn't know who he was.
Sometimes he sounds drunk.
Yeah, I would agree because that's what I got from him, like Soshif. I'm like, whatever. But I think Ragland needs to be. This might be a game for me where it's put up or shut up. And again, they're going to be playing versus the Bengals with Joe Mixon back. I think they're going to run it a lot more. I want to see Reggie Ragland try to convince me to put him back into a lineup at some point in time. Because if not, I'm going to probably bail on the Reggie Ragland for the rest of the year. I'm at that point with him.
I just don't know. I've never been huge on the dude.
Yeah. I feel like he has potential to be really good, but, man, I feel like he shoots himself in the leg all the time. But that's it for Week 6, man. We killed it.
Yep. We've already got the waiver wire pickups on the website.
Already up.
We may go back and re-rank them. Going to get this podcast out tonight. Hopefully you guys can have it for the drive-in tomorrow.
Yeah, driving into work, listen to some good old fun talk. But, again, I was trying to get a dad joke out of that, but I decided not to. Dad jokes are back, man.
Are they?
Yeah, dad jokes are back. They're making a comeback. But anyway, hit us up on Twitter, IDP Fantasy Empire. Go to our website, idpfantasyempire.com. Subscribe. Get it out there. What else are we doing this week?
Maybe a premium podcast. It'll all depend. I got finals this week.
Finals already? It's only October.
Yeah, I got eight-week courses.
Oh, snap. So, yeah, don't be freaking out about the premiums. We told you guys the game plan last week. We're going to be getting some more stuff out. I've already got my notes on at least Monday night's game because I watched it. Buck slept through it. So,
legit. I slept through it.
His alarm kept going off every 20 minutes just to wake him up.
I was snoozing.
Oh, yeah, he was snoring loud, folks. I had to turn up the TV to drown it out. I was like, where the hell is that coming from? It was just I thought it was like the TV. I was like, no, that's Bug. But anyway, keep watching the injury reports because, again, we're going to get more defined injury notes after tonight. But go out and make some moves, man. This is about the time where you know where your team's at.
Yeah.
You know if it's either a contender or a pretender. So you need to make your choices, and if there's someone you want to go out and get, do it now before they either blow up or before they're untouchable.
Right.
Any closing thoughts?
No, just let us know if you like the waiver wire thing we have on our website. We've got them ranked by ranks, and then we have them individual weeks. We got the bye weeks. We have the waiver wires per position, and then we've also got the individual ranks where we do the top 150.
All right, yeah, for sure. Definitely get on that website. Let us know if you like the pictures. If you got some picture ideas for us, send them in. Man, we'd love to hear who you guys want up there on the pictures. We'll change them around. We like doing that every week. So, as always, start building your empire today.